Dear students, welcome you all for our lecture series on agrochemicals and pest control. In today's episode, we are going to discuss about the topic integrated pest management. Let us see introduction. Pest is an animal or insect that causes problems for people, especially by damaging crops. Integrated pest management (IPM) is an effective and environmentally sensitive approach to pest management that relies on a combination of common sense practices. Integrated pest management programs use current comprehensive information on the life cycles of pests and their interaction with the environment. This information, in combination with available pest control methods, is used to manage pest damage by the most economical means and with the least possible hazard to people, property and the environment. The integrated pest management approach can be applied to both agricultural and non-agricultural settings such as the home, garden and workplace. Hence, in this episode, the following aspects are going to be seen: history of integrated pest management, principles of integrated pest management, process of integrated pest management, advantage of integrated pest management and disadvantage of integrated pest management. Let us see the first aspect, history of integrated pest management. The basic biological concepts of integrated pest management have been practiced for years and the philosophical concepts are intertwined in the practice of integrated pest management. About the time humans started aggregating into villages and began planting selected food crops in clusters near rivers in fertile valleys, pests became an increasing challenge. They had to live with the ravages of pests of all types that attacked them and their crops. People learned to perform cultural and physical control practices for crop protection. Methods such as destroying or using crop refuse, roughing diseased plants, tillage to expose and eliminate soil insects, removal of alternate hosts of pathogens and insects, timing of planting, crop rotation, trap crops, determining optimum planting sites, pruning, dusting with sulfur and others reduced the damage potential to many crops from many pests. These cultural and physical control methods are still viable today. As crop production methods improved, larger and larger acreage of crops were cultivated. A less reliance made on diversified agriculture. Equipment became larger and faster and cultivation of larger acreage became feasible. Monoculture replaced diversification. Some pest problems no longer could be controlled by the known combinations of cultural and physical practices. So, the search was on for more effective pest control measures. A great number of noxious mixtures were tried with few beneficial results until the discovery of Paris green in 1870 for insect control. And in 1882, the discovery of borax mixture for control of fungi. These discoveries ushered in an age of chemical research leading to the development of inorganic chemicals in early 1900 for pest control in agriculture until the 1940s. Crops resistant to insects and plant disease were known, but development of resistant cultivated varieties was not pursued until after 1900. The development and use of cultural controls for crop protection almost disappeared from crop production practices. However, there were some early advocates of less reliance upon pesticides. Stephen A. Forbes, University of Illinois, adopted the word ecology and applied ecological studies for insect studies in agricultural crops in the 1880s. Charles W. Woodworth, A. E. Michael Baker, University of California, and many others stressed the importance of ecology in insect control. A highly sophisticated system for cotton ball weevil control had been developed in 1920, and economic thresholds were identified to initiate spray treatments with calcium arsenate. In spite of some of these early success stories, there was a gradual shift towards dependence upon chemical pesticides. Although there was some reported resistance of pests to pesticides, these were largely ignored. It was noted that after treatments with the inorganic insecticides, other pests emerged and populations were accentuated. In the mid-1940s, the introduction of dichloro-diphenyl trichloroethane, that is DDT, and other organochlorine chemicals and the organophosphates led to the almost total dependence upon chemical pesticides for crop production. In the late 1960s, a movement to develop more environmentally benign crop protection methods began. In the 1970s, researchers began to identify and develop crop production systems that integrated many of measures to reduce pest populations to levels below damaging levels requiring pesticides. In the 1980s, some pioneering advocates of integrated pest management began applying integrated pest management principles and practices to urban sites. Since that time, integrated pest management systems have been developed for several urban sites such as schools, parks, hospitals, and nursing homes. Let us come to the second aspect, principles of integrated pest management. Integrated pest management is the management of pest populations using all relevant control practices in a complementary manner, so that the pest will be maintained below the economic injury level and adverse effects on the environment will be minimal. When considering integrated pest management, it is important to have a good understanding and knowledge of planning and managing agricultural production systems to prevent insects, plant diseases, and weeds from becoming pests. Identifying pests, their natural enemies and damage. Monitoring populations of pests and beneficial organisms, pest damage and environmental conditions. Making control decisions based on potential damage, cost of control methods, value of production, impact on the pests, beneficial organisms and the environment. Using strategies that may include a combination of behavioral, biological, chemical, cultural and mechanical methods to reduce pest populations to acceptable levels. Evaluating the effects and efficacy of management decisions. Integrated pest management incorporates biological, cultural, mechanical and chemical control methods. Biological control. Biological control is the use of living organisms to suppress pest populations. The buildup of natural enemies in a crop and surrounding bushland may assist in keeping pests below the level that can cause economic damage. Natural enemies consist of predators, parasites and pathogens. Many natural enemies occur naturally and will build up in numbers when the pest populations expand. Their build-up can be encouraged by use of particular management strategies, including planting of cover crops, providing nectar producing plants or other food sources, interplanting different crops to provide habitat diversity. Natural enemy numbers can also be enhanced by making inundative releases. Certain predators and parasites are bred commercially and can be purchased from suppliers. Cultural control. Cultural control utilizes specific crop production practices to reduce pest populations or avoid pest injury to crops. Let us see some examples. Nets over whole orchards or rows of trees protect fruit from bird damage as well as some insect pests such as fruit piercing moths. Some beneficial insects or mites feed on pollen from grasses. If certain grasses are planted between rows, they could provide an alternate food source for these beneficial. In orchard maintenance, the slashing of every second row is advisable. Windbreaks may assist in providing sheltered areas for natural enemies, especially in new crops less than 5 years old. Other factors such as varietal selection, plant health and soil nutrition should also be considered in integrated pest management. Varietal selection is important in choosing the most suitable crop for a particular region to suit the climate, soil and occurrence of pests and diseases. Healthy trees are more likely to tolerate low insect infestations than unhealthy or stressed trees. Mechanical control. Mechanical and physical control kill a pest directly or make the environment unsuitable for it. Traps for rodents are examples of mechanical control. Physical controls include mulches for weed management, steam sterilization of the soil for disease management, or barriers such as screens to keep birds or insects out. Chemical control. Chemical control is the management of pests with pesticides or growth inhibitors. In integrated pest management, sprays are only applied when monitoring indicates that pest populations are above an economic threshold. This contrasts with calendar spraying, where sprays are carried out on a regular basis. When selecting chemicals, it is best to choose ones that are the least harmful to natural enemies and the environment. Suitable softer chemicals target specific pests and are generally non-residual. Broad spectrum pesticides kill a larger range of pests as well as natural enemies and therefore are more likely to disrupt integrated pest management programs. Continued use of insecticides from one chemical group can lead to the pest developing resistance and to these products no longer being effective. In situations where this is likely to occur, there are various strategies that can be used to manage the levels of resistance. Now, we will move on to the third aspect, process of integrated pest management. Integrated pest management is the selection and use of pest control actions that will ensure favorable economic, ecological and social consequences and is applicable to most agricultural, public health and amenity pest management situations. Reliance on knowledge, experience, observation and integration of multiple techniques makes integrated pest management appropriate for organic farming excluding synthetic pesticides. These may or may not include materials listed on the Organic Materials Review Institute, that is OMRI. Although the pesticides and particularly insecticides used in inorganic farming and organic gardening are generally safer than synthetic pesticides. They are not always more safe or environmentally friendly than synthetic pesticides and can cause harm. For conventional farms, integrated pest management can reduce human and environmental exposure to hazardous chemicals and potentially lower overall costs. Risk assessment usually includes 4 issues: characterization of biological control agents, health risks, environmental risks, and efficacy. Mistaken identification of a pest may result in ineffective actions. For example, plant damage due to overwatering could be mistaken for fungal infection, since many fungal and viral infections arise under moist conditions. Monitoring begins immediately before the pest's activity becomes significant. Monitoring of agricultural pests include tracking soil or planting media fertility and water quality. Overall plant health and resistance to pests is greatly influenced by pH, alkalinity of dissolved mineral, and oxygen reduction potential. Many diseases are waterborne, spread directly by irrigation water or indirectly by splashing. Once the pest is known, knowledge of its life cycle provides the optimal intervention points. For example, weeds reproducing from last year's seed can be prevented with mulches and pre-emergent herbicide. Pest-tolerant crops such as soybeans may not warrant interventions unless the pests are numerous or rapidly increasing. Intervention is warranted if the expected cost of damage by the pest is more than the cost of control. Health hazards may require intervention that is not warranted by economic considerations. Possible interventions include mechanical or physical, cultural, biological, and chemical. Mechanical or physical controls include picking pests off plants or using netting or other material to exclude pests such as birds from grapes. Cultural controls include keeping an area free of conducive conditions by removing waste or diseased plants, flooding, sanding, and the use of disease-resistant crop varieties. Biological controls are numerous. They include conservation of natural predators or augmentation of natural predators, sterile insect technique. Augmentation, inoculative release and inundative release are different methods of biological control that affect the target pest in different ways. Augmentative control includes the periodic introduction of predators. With inundative release, predators are collected, massacred, and periodically released in large numbers into the pest area. This is used for an immediate reduction in host populations, generally for annual crops, but is not suitable for long-run use. With inoculative release, a limited number of beneficial organisms are introduced at the start of the growing season. This strategy offers long-term control as the organism's progeny affect pest populations throughout the season and is common in orchards. With seasonal inoculative release, the beneficial are collected, massacred, and released seasonally to maintain the beneficial population. This is commonly used in greenhouses. The sterile insect technique is an area-wide integrated pest management program that introduces sterile male pests into the pest population to trick females into breeding encounters, providing a form of birth control and reducing reproduction rates. The biological controls mentioned above only appropriate in extreme cases, because in the introduction of new species or supplementation of naturally occurring species, can have detrimental ecosystem effects. Biological controls can be used to stop invasive species or pests, but they can become an introduction path for new pests. Chemical controls include horticultural oils or the application of insecticides and herbicides. A green pest management integrated pest management program uses pesticides derived from plants such as botanicals or other naturally occurring materials. Pesticides can be classified by their modes of action. Rotating among materials with different modes of action minimizes pest resistance. Evaluation is the process of assessing whether the intervention was effective, whether it produced unacceptable side effects, whether to continue, revise or abandon the program. Let us see the fourth aspect, advantages of integrated pest management. The use of integrated pest management has many advantages. Some of the most significant advantages include to agricultural producers, reduction in producers' economic risk by the promotion of low cost and carefully targeted pest management practices, proactive avoidance of future pest management crises through research directed at potential short-term, medium-term and long-term challenges, reduction of health risk to agricultural workers by fostering best management practice adoption. To the environment, reduction of environmental risk associated with pest management by encouraging the adoption of more ecologically benign control tactics, protection of at-risk ecosystems and non-target species through reduced impact of pest management activities, promotion of sustainable bio-based pest management alternatives. To pest management professionals and organizations, augmentation of private research development efforts to develop lower risk pest control tactics and expand the use of existing low risk tactics to specialty markets. Promotion of innovative practices that improve pest management effectiveness, which can increase customer satisfaction and reduce the risk of customer complaints. Creation of a demand for new, innovative and marketable products and services. To the general public, reduction of risk to the public by promoting responsible pest management in public spaces including schools, recreational facilities and playgrounds. Promotion of lower risk residential and community pest control through educational programs tailored to home owners. Assurance of safe, reliable, low cost pest control through improved pest management. Let us come to the fifth and last aspect of this topic, disadvantages of integrated pest management. However, integrated pest management does have some disadvantages. These include integrated pest management will require more staff time than traditional pest management, even if implementation is contracted to a pest management company. Integrated pest management will require the coordinated effort of all staff members to properly implement the program. Integrated pest management may initially be more expensive than traditional pest management. Initially complicated decision making. Crop monitoring results that can be difficult to interpret. lack of market rewards for IPM, that is integrated pest management grown product, limited market tolerance to blemishes, low or nil tolerance to insect contamination for low value crops. Now, let us come to the conclusion of this topic. Integrated pest management incorporates a broad based examination of pest management. Decisions are predicted on three very important considerations, including economics, environment, and human health. The choice of management tools rests with the value assigned to each of these three considerations. The key to using integrated pest management is being flexible and planning for adjustments or fine tuning. The more flexible the integrated pest management program, the greater the chances of finding an effective solution which will provide long lasting benefits. This is all about the topic integrated pest management. So, students, hope you enjoyed this session. We will meet in the next episode. Thank you.